Gay Fort Lauderdale police chief dismissed for discrimination. Last year, the world was on fire with the hashtag Black Lives Matter movement and awareness of racial equity. Just 6 months after gay officer Larry Scirotto was made chief of the Fort Lauderdale Police Department, he was fired for discrimination. What poor, maligned, and downtrodden minority did he discriminate against? Apparently, white people. Scirotto made it an open point to help bring diversity to the police force, at times choosing qualified minority candidates for jobs over their white counterparts. Over the 15 hires he made during his employment, 6 of them were minorities. While he has said he spoke about the force being, quote, too white, end quote, and not representing the population of the area, he denies asking which of 2 candidates were, quote unquote, blacker for hiring. Breaking news.
I am blown away by this story. I mean, seriously. And so supposedly there's a big, there's a wall of all the people who work at certain departments, right? We've all been to like big businesses where that is, right? So there's this whole big wall and there's a bunch of photos and most of the people on these photos are white. Right. So the gentleman goes and goes, this wall is way too white. I'm going to change that. And many people heard him say that. It's one of the various comments that racially he can't be saying. Then I find out that he has parents that are biracial and he's gay. Like, I'm so confused by this, completely.
I am too. It threw me off completely, the story, and especially at the end when he said, or what at the end says, who's blacker. I mean, that, as much as I think that there should be representation in the police force and, community service, but just that kind of comment is a little too, is unacceptable.
I'm curious, does it surprise you in the connection that we make in this story, in this breaking news of his termination over the weekend, that it's gay and discrimination and race, they're all intersecting together? Does that surprise you?
Not in the land of DeSantis. I mean, he holds sway over the whole state. I mean, we have a little bubble down here, but you can still feel that here, and that's an example of it. That's an example of DeSantis.
I mean, there's so much nuance to this story. There's so many layers. And I mean, he denies having asking which of the candidates were blacker, right? That's the last part of that story. But there's, what it's doing, among many things, is sparking a really important conversation about the problems with policing and the disproportionate way that it's felt among Black and brown communities, and especially within lower income communities. And the kinds of, what was it, 5 out of, or 6 out of 15. I mean, if the police force needs to look like the community that it is policing.
Yeah, for sure.
And this is just not, I mean, those numbers aren't even close to,
sure.
I mean, so.
One of the things, I've told this story 100 times, one of the things that I learned when I moved to do this gig, create news here in South Florida, is that Broward County is a majority county. And I had never heard that phrase ever before. And the explanation of 1.5 million, 100,000 residents, whatever the current number is, the majority of the residents in Broward County are women, gay, Black, Latino, underrepresented minorities. The majority of the county does not look like me. No. And what's confusing on this story is his desire in a majority county is to propel minority representation in the police department. I think it's too early for us to come to any kind of conclusion here of what is really going on, but it just doesn't sit right. It's a little disturbing because after all, this is not, it's not Montgomery, Alabama or Lincoln, Nebraska.
Right.
This is a different type of community.
Yep. Well, and the gentleman says that he's going to fight it all the way. He's already gotten representation, and he's not just going to stay, quiet about it.
One other thing, does it surprise you that the discrimination that we're talking about here is not against gay, it's against white?
That's right.
It feels weird because we're not used to that.
It's like,
But you do wonder if gay does come into play also in a like an under the surface way. The fact that he's gay, maybe
here,
that.
Do you think? The reason that surprises me is the mayor of Fort Lauderdale is gay.
Right.
So we're living in one of the densest gay communities in America, if not the world. We joke here at Queer News Tonight that this is the gayest place on planet Earth. So it doesn't feel like it's discrimination against a gay black man, but
Yeah.
it's very confusing.
Layered.
Very.
It's very layered, yes. LGBTQ plus news is vital for our community and for the broader world as a whole. We have enough enemies at Fox News. Tucker, Sean, and Laura are loud. We need passionate allies. Happening Out Television Network, Queer News Tonight, and It's Happening Out are literally out of the closet and into the headlines. Our community needs your support. Like this broadcast and subscribe now to ensure the growth of the entire LGBTQ+